I never imagined I'd be living in this house alone at the age of 63. Every evening, as I walk up the stairs and run my hand along the smooth wooden railing, memories come rushing back. I think about all the family members before me who did the same thing. This house on 13 Maple Street has been in my family for more than 100 years, and I've lived here for most of my life. My name is Emily Blunt. 23 years ago, my husband John left me for his 27-year-old secretary. At that time, our son Ryan was only 13. I still remember the day John told me he was leaving like it happened just yesterday. We were in the kitchen. He didn't look me in the eyes and kept playing with his wedding ring. "I'm sorry, Emily. I never wanted this to happen," he said softly. I just stood there, holding the kitchen counter so tightly that my knuckles turned white. "Does she make you happy, John?" I asked, trying not to cry. He nodded but still didn't look at me. "I'll make sure Ryan is taken care of. I'll pay good alimony," he promised. To be fair, he did keep his word. Every month, he sent money without missing a single payment. I didn't spend that money on myself. I saved every bit of it for Ryan's college education. To pay for our daily needs, I worked extra hours at the marketing company. Thankfully, we didn't have to worry about the house. It was paid off, thanks to my grandmother. It was her last gift to me. This house has been my rock through everything. Once, a movie crew even used it to film a story set during the Civil War. They said the house looked perfect for that time period. The producer even offered me a huge amount of money to buy it, but I couldn't let it go. This house isn't just made of bricks and wood. It holds my family's memories. It's part of who I am. After John left, I focused on my job and raising Ryan. Dating didn't feel right anymore. Some of my coworkers tried to fix me up with people, but I always said no. "I'm married to my career," I would joke. But deep down, I just didn't believe in love anymore. Ryan became my whole world. I made sure Ryan always had what he needed: love, support, and guidance. We had our daily routines: breakfast together every morning, doing homework at the kitchen table, and watching movies on Thursday nights. He worked hard, finished school with good grades, and got into a good college, all thanks to the money his father sent. Last year, Ryan brought a girl named Ashley home from work. I tried to be kind and friendly. She seemed nice, always smiling, saying nice things about the house, and asking about the family photos. But something didn't feel right. Maybe it was the way her smile didn't reach her eyes, or how she would quickly change the topic when work was mentioned. Still, I told myself I was just being too protective. One evening, while we were having dinner, Ryan said, "Mom, we're getting married." I forced a smile and gave them both a hug, even though I had a strange feeling deep inside. "I'm so happy for you both," I said. And I meant it, or at least I wanted to believe I did. The wedding was small but beautiful. I sat in the front row, watching my son promise his life to a woman I hardly knew. John came too, with his new wife and their teenage twins. We nodded politely at each other but didn't talk. In the beginning, everything seemed okay. Ryan and Ashley moved into an apartment across town. They both worked at the same tech company. Sometimes I invited them over for dinner. Ashley would look around the house like she was examining everything closely, and something about that made me uneasy. But I never expected how quickly things would change, or how my quiet life was about to turn upside down. One day while I was at work, I got a phone call from Ryan. His voice was shaking, and I could tell he had been crying. "Mom, they're letting go half the staff," he said. "Ashley and I are both losing our jobs." My heart dropped. I knew how tough it was to be laid off. I'd seen it happen to many people during my years working in marketing. "Take a deep breath, honey," I said. "Tell me what you need." "We won't be able to pay rent next month," he said softly. "Our savings are almost gone." I quickly checked my bank account and sent them enough money to cover 4 months of rent. It wasn't a small amount, but I had some money saved up, and he's my son. "This should help you both until you find new jobs," I told him. The next few weeks were full of ups and downs. Ryan found a new job at a smaller company, but it paid much less than his last one. Ashley, on the other hand, I didn't want to say anything, but it didn't look like she was really trying to find a job. When I visited, I often saw her scrolling through social media instead of looking at job ads. Then, just as the 4 months were almost over, I got another call from Ryan. Mom, I really don't want to ask this, but is there any way we could stay with you for a while? Just until things get better, Ryan said. I looked around my big, quiet house, thinking about all the empty rooms. Of course, honey. You know there's always space for you here, I replied. They showed up on a Thursday afternoon, their car packed full of boxes and bags. As I helped them carry things into Ryan's old room, I noticed Ashley's eyes moving all over the house, like she was studying every corner. Something about the way she looked at everything made me feel uneasy. Emily, she said sweetly, her voice almost too sugary, your bedroom is just beautiful. And that home office, it would be perfect for us while we look for new jobs. Maybe Ryan and I could use that room? It's bigger, and since you're here alone. I'm sorry, Ashley, I interrupted, staying calm but firm. That's my space. I need my office for work, and sometimes I have to take calls late at night. Ryan's old room is a good size, and you can use the guest room across the hall for storage. Her smile faded, and she didn't say anything, but the look in her eyes made me uncomfortable. She pressed her lips together and turned away, dragging her suitcase upstairs harder than she needed to. Ryan gave me a soft smile. Thanks for this, Mom. We really appreciate it. Life started to fall into a new rhythm, or at least I tried to believe it did. Every morning, I got up at 7 o'clock, made coffee, and went to work. Ryan left around the same time for his new job. But Ashley, she was still asleep when I left. At first, I didn't want to judge. I told myself, she's probably applying for jobs online. But as the days went by, I started noticing a pattern I couldn't ignore. Every evening when I came home, Ashley was in the same spot I'd left her that morning, sprawled out on my living room couch, holding her phone. Around her were empty snack wrappers, used coffee mugs, and dishes in the sink from her lunch. Crumbs covered the kitchen counter. How was the job search today? I'd ask, trying to sound cheerful. Oh, nothing really fits my skills, she'd answer without even looking up from her phone. 3 weeks went by like this. My house, which I'd always kept clean and tidy, started to look messy. Dust gathered on the shelves, dishes stacked up in the sink, and laundry baskets were overflowing. After a really tiring day at work, I decided it was time to have a gentle talk. We were all sitting at the dinner table. I had cleaned the kitchen and cooked the meal myself. I took a deep breath and cleared my throat. Ashley, sweetheart, I said softly, trying to keep my tone kind. I was thinking, since you're home during the day, maybe you could help out a little around the house. Just until you find a job, of course. The look on her face changed right away. Her fork dropped onto her plate, and tears filled her eyes. I knew it, she cried, turning to Ryan. I knew she'd try to turn me into her maid. Just because I don't have a job right now doesn't mean I should be her servant. I was shocked and didn't know what to say. Ashley, that's not what I meant. You've looked down on me since the first day, she shouted, now crying even more. You think I'm not good enough for your precious son or your perfect house. Ashley, please. I didn't mean it like that. But she had already pushed her chair back and ran from the table in a dramatic way. Ryan stood up too. His face was angry. Mom, I can't believe you'd say something so hurtful to Ashley. She's going through a really hard time right now. After that night, things got worse. I kept doing all the cooking and cleaning. Meanwhile, they ordered food and left the empty boxes and wrappers wherever they ate. Out of habit, or maybe hope, I still called them to dinner when I cooked. They would come down, eat quietly without saying anything, and then leave their dirty dishes on the table. The days felt longer and more tiring. The sound of the TV was always playing in the background, along with the soft tapping of Ashley's fingers on her phone. I started spending more time at the office, just to avoid being home so much. But it was always on my mind. Then one morning at our weekly meeting, the HR director mentioned they were hiring a new office manager. My ears perked up right away. What's the starting salary? I asked, trying to sound casual. $70,000 to start, she replied. But there's room to grow. We usually promote from inside the company. Right away, I thought about Ashley. She had a business degree and had worked in office jobs before. This could be a great chance for her. During my lunch break, I started typing a message to tell her about the job. But then I deleted it. This was something I needed to say in person. I left work early that day, feeling hopeful for the first time in a while. Maybe this would fix everything. When I got home, Ashley was in her usual spot on the couch, staring at her phone. An open bag of chips sat on the coffee table, with crumbs scattered everywhere. "Ashley," I said, trying to sound cheerful and positive. "I have some good news," I said. "There's a job opening at my company for an office manager. It's a beginner-level position, but there's a chance to move up. The pay is decent, and I could even drive you to work. We could go together." Ashley jumped up from the couch, and the chip bag flew to the floor. "Are you serious right now?" she shouted. "An office manager? Do you even know what I'm qualified for?" I just thought. "You thought what? That I'd be happy getting coffee for people and organizing paper clips?" Her voice got louder with every word. "I have a business degree. I used to be a project coordinator." "Ashley, please, I didn't mean it like that." "Oh, I know exactly what you meant," she yelled. "You think I'm just sitting here doing nothing. You think I'm lazy. You hate that I'm not working, so now you're trying to force me into some low-level job." Just then, Ryan walked through the front door. Terrible timing. "What's going on?" he asked, looking at both of us. Ashley ran to him, tears rolling down her cheeks. "Your mom insulted me again. She called me a freeloader and tried to make me take some cheap office job." I stood up, my hands shaking. "Ryan, that's not true. I was only trying to help. There's a job at my office, and I thought—" "Mom, stop." Ryan's voice was sharp. It cut through the room like a blade. "Why do you always do this? Why can't you just leave Ashley alone?" "I was only trying to help," I said, honestly confused. "Help," Ashley said between sobs. "You're trying to embarrass me." She ran upstairs, crying loudly enough for the whole house to hear. Ryan looked at me with disappointment in his eyes. "I never thought living with you would be so hard, Mom," he said, shaking his head. "You're always causing problems. It's like you enjoy the drama." Then he followed Ashley upstairs, leaving me alone in the living room. I sat back down in my chair, my coffee now cold in my hands. "Starting drama," I whispered to myself. The words felt bitter. In all my 63 years, no one had ever said that about me. The days turned into weeks. I learned to keep quiet about jobs. If I even mentioned work, Ashley would glare at me, so I stopped saying anything. It was easier that way, even if I had to watch her lie on the couch every day doing nothing. Things began to change when Ryan got his first big paycheck at work. Suddenly, Ashley started going out more. She came back with shopping bags from fancy stores and fresh manicures that probably cost more than a week's groceries. Not once did she buy anything useful for the house, not even basic things like laundry soap or paper towels. I still had to take care of all that myself. I kept hoping that now Ryan was earning more money, they would finally start looking for their own place. Every morning, I checked rental listings on my phone, imagining them finding a nice little apartment somewhere across town. But they didn't seem interested in moving out. In fact, they looked completely happy staying here and getting more and more comfortable in my house. One evening, I came home from work and found Ashley happily talking on the phone in the living room. "Oh my God, yes. The house is just perfect for a party," she said. "You should see the vintage chandelier in the dining room. It's going to look amazing in the photos." I set my briefcase down, already feeling uneasy. "What party?" I thought. She hung up and turned to Ryan, who had just come in through the front door. "Babe, we should totally have our anniversary party here. Can you believe it's almost been 3 years?" I looked at her and asked, "Where exactly are you planning to have this party?" She smiled and waved her hands around the living room. "Here, of course. This house is beautiful, Emily. All our friends are going to love it. I'm thinking we can set up the bar in the entryway and maybe move some furniture in here to make room for dancing." I tried to stay calm. "Shouldn't you have asked me first?" But Ashley was already busy scrolling through her phone. "We should invite the Hendersons and maybe that new couple from your office, Ryan. Oh, and we have to call the same catering company we used for New Year's." I looked at Ryan, hoping he'd say something. But instead, he just nodded and smiled, clearly liking Ashley's ideas. Later that evening, I pulled Ryan aside in the kitchen. "Mom, I know what you're going to say, he said quickly. But this would mean a lot to Ashley. She's been feeling low lately, and this party would really cheer her up. Ryan, this is my house. You can't just decide to throw a party here without asking me. Please, Mom, he said, giving me that same look he used to when he wanted a second piece of cake as a kid. I promise we'll handle everything. I'll even hire a cleaning service after the party. You won't have to do a thing. I looked at my son, the same boy I once raised with so much love and care, and I felt my strength slipping. Fine, I said with a sigh, already knowing I was going to regret it. But I want everything back exactly the way it was afterward. Thanks, Mom. You're the best, he said, hugging me quickly before running upstairs to share the good news with Ashley. The week before the party was completely chaotic, and I wasn't part of any of it. Ashley took over the house like she was in charge of a big event. Delivery trucks came and went, dropping off everything from fancy tablecloths to crystal glasses for champagne. Ashley moved my furniture around without asking me. She pushed my favorite reading chair into a corner to make space for a dance floor. I tried to stay out of the way and spent most of my time in my office. Still, I couldn't help hearing her long phone calls about snacks, drinks, and decorations. She moved my grandmother's antique vase to fit in some big flower displays. She even took down my family photos and replaced them with string lights and paper lanterns. On Saturday afternoon, I left work early. I had even bought a new dress for the party. It wasn't fancy, just a simple navy blue cocktail dress that I thought would be nice for the evening. As I pulled into my driveway, I saw cars already parked all along the street. I took a deep breath and walked up to my own front door. Inside, the house looked nothing like before. The furniture had been pushed to the walls, and people were already dancing in the middle of the room. The air was filled with the smell of catered food and expensive perfume. Ashley saw me from across the room. She was wearing a short silver dress that sparkled under the new party lights. Her hair and makeup looked professionally done. She left the group she was talking to and walked over to me with a big fake smile on her face. "Emily," she said sweetly, but loud enough for the people around us to hear, "I thought you'd be gone by now." I looked at her confused.
Gone?
Why would I be gone? She tilted her head and kept smiling. "Oh, I guess I forgot to tell you. This party is really just for our friends, young people. I thought you would have made other plans for the night. Maybe gotten a hotel room." I stood there, shocked. A few of her friends nearby giggled into their champagne glasses. "This is my house," I said quietly, almost in a whisper. "Yes, and you've been so kind letting us use it," Ashley said, patting my arm like I was a child. "But you have to understand, having someone's mom at a party like this can ruin the mood." I looked past her to Ryan, who was standing nearby, watching everything. I thought he'd say something. I hoped he'd step in. "Mom," he said, walking over, "Ashley's right. This party is really more for younger people. It might be better if you weren't here." And in that moment, something inside me, something that had been getting weaker and weaker over the past few months, finally broke. Without saying a word, I turned and walked up the stairs. Behind me, I heard Ashley's smug voice.
"See?"
I knew she'd understand. She's probably just gone to pack an overnight bag. I walked into Ryan's old room, now their room, and pulled their suitcases out from under the bed. My hands didn't shake. I started emptying their drawers, not bothering to fold anything. I just tossed their clothes into the suitcases, designer dresses, expensive suits, all the things they had bought using Ryan's new paycheck. I stripped the bed, wrapped their bathroom items in a towel, and added those to the bags too. Downstairs, the music was loud as I dragged the heavy suitcases down the stairs, one in each hand. The thumping sounds of the bags hitting each step caught everyone's attention. People stopped talking and turned to watch. "Mom," Ryan's voice shook. "What are you doing?" I dropped the suitcases right in the middle of the living room on what was supposed to be the dance floor. "You're leaving now," I said. "The party's over." Ashley's face twisted with anger. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" she shouted. "This is my house," I said, calm but serious. "You have exactly 6 minutes to leave, or I'll call the police and have you removed for trespassing." "Mom, come on," Ryan said with a nervous laugh. You're not serious, right? I took out my phone. 5 minutes. Guests started moving toward the door, whispering to each other. Some were already pulling out their phones to order rides. You crazy old woman, Ashley yelled, stepping closer and pointing her finger at me. I moved fast, faster than anyone expected. I stepped right up to her, standing just inches from her face. Call me one more name, I said, my voice low and steady. And I'll show you how much fight this old woman still has in her. Go ahead. Try me. Ashley's face turned pale. She stepped back quickly and grabbed one of the suitcases. Ryan stood still for a moment, unsure of what to do. Then he picked up the second bag. Mom, Get out. They walked to the door. Ashley kept muttering angry words under her breath. Ryan looked back once, but I had already turned away. I was busy pulling down the cheap decorations they had put up on my walls. After they left, I looked around at what was left of the party. There were tables full of untouched food, half-filled glasses of champagne, and trash everywhere. Thankfully, my grandmother's vase was still safe. I started boxing up the leftover food. The local homeless shelter was still open, so at least the food would go to someone who needed it. The weeks after the party were quiet, almost too quiet. But after months of stress and noise, the silence felt like a gift. I slowly put everything back where it belonged. My reading chair returned to its place by the window. My family photos went back up on the walls. My grandmother's vase became the centerpiece of the dining table again. In small towns, news travels fast. One morning, over coffee, my friend Kimberly, who works in real estate, told me Ryan and Ashley had rented a one-bedroom apartment in the new complex across town. Funny thing, she said. Helen from the leasing office is an old friend. She told me they almost didn't pass the credit check. But Ryan's new salary just barely got them approved. I sipped my coffee and stayed quiet. Over time, more stories about Ryan and Ashley started to reach me. Carol, whose niece lives in the same apartment building, told me the property manager had already given them 2 warnings about the mess in their place during routine checks. The place is a disaster, Carol said, shaking her head. Trash piling up, dishes in the sink for days. Sound familiar? I just nodded, thinking back to how my kitchen used to look when they were living here. Then I heard about the arguments. They weren't quiet about it. Neighbors said they could hear Ashley shouting through the walls, yelling about Ryan's low salary, how she hated living in a dump, and how none of her friends lived like this. Ryan would shout back, complaining that she refused to get a job, cook, clean, or do anything to help. I heard she even throws things sometimes, my friend Rachel whispered during our weekly lunch. Someone said they saw Ryan sleeping in his car one night last week. Every news story made my heart ache a little more, but not for Ashley. I was done feeling sorry for her. But for Ryan, he was still my son no matter what had happened. Sometimes I pick up the phone and hover my finger over his number. But I never press it. I always put the phone down. This is something he has to go through himself. It's his journey, and his lesson to learn. The house feels different now. It's quiet and peaceful, yes, but it also feels like it's waiting, like the story isn't over yet. Some nights, I sit in my reading chair with a warm cup of tea and look at the photos on the wall. Ryan at his graduation. His first baseball game. The 2 of us at the beach when he was 10. I think about the little boy who used to run to me with scraped knees and broken toys, believing Mom could fix anything. But I can't fix this for him. He has to see the truth on his own. He needs to realize what he's become and remember the person I raised him to be. Until then, I'll be here in our family home, keeping his room ready, just in case. Not for Ashley. That chapter is closed. But for my son, when he's ready to come back, say sorry and rebuild. In the meantime, I'm focusing on myself. I joined a book club, started painting on weekends, and even adopted a cat from the local shelter. His name is Eric, and he's wonderful company. In the evenings, he curls up beside me, purring softly while I read. We don't need to talk to enjoy each other's presence. Life goes on, as it always does. And when Ryan is ready, he'll know where to find me.